Singles versus reps. Um, so this is an interesting observation of mine, and it's one of those things you're not going to find in research, and you're going to learn this maybe, depending on what sport you get into, such as weightlifting. Uncle Ivan was probably the most infamous, choose your adjective there, whatever you want to pick for him, weightlifting coach of all time. The Bulgarian program. And he was asked once why he had his athletes do nothing but singles. And his answer was, it changes the quality of the meat. Now, English was obviously not his first language, and so I can only assume, and I figure I am probably correct here, that the actual word he was looking for was muscle. Okay, so if you know a little bit of Russian, you know that the words for meat and muscle are actually very similar. It's a similar term. So it doesn't translate perfectly into English, because whenever you eat meat, guess what? That's muscle. Like that steak, that's muscle. So it changes the quality of the meat. But we understood that what he was really saying was it changes the quality of the muscle. Everyone seems to think that there's some magic to sets and reps, which drives me crazy. You know, oh, sets of 8 to 12 are better for hypertrophy, and, sets of whatever are better for this and better for that. And really, all it really actually matters is how much do you stress the muscle. I think Fred Hatfield was correct. He says it's not about time under tension, it's about time under maximal tension. It's maximal tension that actually matters. And I think that you can see that very clearly if you've ever done something like triphasic, where you do the super maximal eccentrics. Do a couple super maximal squats and let me know if your legs don't grow. Take 120% of your back squat and just lower it down as far as you can, under control. Fight it the whole way, that eccentric, until you set it down on the pins. Then you put it back up on the rack and you unrack it, and slow eccentric all the way back down to the pins. Wow, you've never been so sore in your entire life the next day. What the hell happened? Well, it's that time under maximal tension. You're super maximal at that point. It's not just 100% of your max, it's 120% of your max, and you're trying to lower it down to the pins. It's like, yeah. So we all understand this whole thing, the actin myosin, tearing the muscle apart. That's what makes it grow. How is it that you can grow so much muscle on so few reps? Because aren't you supposed to have, volume is the primary hypertrophy? Well, no, it isn't. If you think it is, go do 1,000 push-ups a day and let me know how big your chest gets. Go pick up some 5-pound dumbbells and do thousands of curls and see how big your biceps get. So, we all know that there's a limit to this whole concept. I'm obviously picking the extremes of the metric here, right? So, super maximal lifts compared to a super light lift for thousands of reps. But you get the point. The point is that it's not so much just time under tension. It's just not just volume, right? You have to have a significant amount of tension on the muscle in order to stimulate it. And Ivan, well, he recognized that there's something different about doing singles. When you do singles, it changes the quality of the muscle. Now, this is interesting, and this is something I chose to experiment with because for a while there I was trying to get really serious about Olympic weightlifting. And so all I did was singles because, well, that's your sport. So do singles in the snatch, do singles in the clean, do singles of the variants. Hang power snatch, it's still a single. Hang power clean, still a single. Hang clean, still do a single. But then when I would squat, I would do singles as well. And people will think that this means I'm maxing out every time, but I didn't. Even if it was like 80%, I would do singles. It's just that by doing singles at 80%, I need less time to rest. So if I'm doing singles at 95%, I'm probably going to rest 4 to 5 minutes between singles. If I'm doing singles at 80%, what do I need? 45 seconds, 60 seconds of rest between singles? At 80%, I could do a single every minute on the minute, which that's a Glenn Penley thing, on the minute. I don't like EMOM. Let's call them on the minute. So anyways, you look at this and it's like, oh, hey, I did 20 singles because I just did on the minute snatches or on the minute squats or on the minute presses or whatever the hell it is. On the minute jerk, get some jerk blocks, set them up, and you know, every time you unrack this thing, I don't know if I rack it, unrack it. It's hard to, I don't know what word I should use properly for jerk blocks because you're not just taking it out of a rack, you're just lifting it up. But like this is resetting you over and over and over again. You're getting a whole bunch of practice. If you think about it from powerlifting, think about if you did nothing but singles, you're getting to practice your walkout 20 times. You do 20 singles, you get 20, opportunities to practice unrack, walk out, squat, walk it back in and rack it. So you're getting practice for that part of it too. That's actually probably something that people don't even think about. That's a huge benefit there. But in any case, yeah, so I started just doing nothing but singles all the time. It didn't matter. If it was 80%, I still did it for a single. If it was 95%, still did it for a single. 70% still did it for a single. And then you really need to be barely any time between, right? Okay. What happened? Well, I got a lot more explosive. Like I got a lot stronger. I got really good at doing singles. But it definitely did change the quality of the muscle because a lot of people tell you, oh yeah, I can do 80% for a set of 5. And it's like, nope, I could do 80% maybe for a set of 3 if I had to, and I would probably need spotters to save me on the 4th or 5th rep. I became more fast twitch, obviously, right? Because of the way I trained. You guys can look up Werner Gunthor, who was not a fast twitch genetically, but he trained it and became fast twitch. Doing singles can change the quality of the muscle. Now, this is interesting to me because this was an observation that I made just through experience. But then, later on, technology got better, and we now have this thing called velocity-based training. They have all these things that let you track your bar velocity. And I will tell you right now, if you track your bar velocity, okay, like get one of those velocity trackers, track your bar velocity, doing singles, you will have a higher average bar velocity for the entire session. Take a squat, okay, and just say it's 75% even, all right? You're going to do a set of 5, and you will notice that when you do a set of 5, your bar velocity will drop off significantly on the 4th and 5th rep, but it probably will drop off on 1, 2, 3, like the first rep will be your fastest, the second rep may be very close, but probably not the same. The third rep will be lower than the first for sure. And then your 4th and 5th rep are a lot slower, like significantly slower. And that's an interesting thing. I feel like it might have been Jimson Lee who pointed that out to me once, that the 4th rep is always a lot slower than the 3rd. So when you're doing sets of 5, you'll notice 1, 2, and 3 are pretty close together. That 4th and 5th rep are a lot slower. I think Brian Mann may have made the same observation. But regardless, great minds will all see the same observations when they implement these things. So what I picked up on was that doing singles, even if I'm doing singles at 75%, if I look at all of the reps across the entire workout, I had a higher average bar velocity than if I would have done maybe a set of, 5 by 5. If I had done sets of 5, my average bar velocity would be significantly lower. And so what I'm going to throw out here is that if your goal, this is very important, you have to consider your goal, okay? Very quickly. Let me point something out to you. Ed Cohn said that he did the majority of his training doing 5 sets of 5. And that was great for building strength, okay? Flex Wheeler said that he made his best progress doing sets of 25. These are different goals, okay? Flex Wheeler was looking for hypertrophy. Tom Platz was doing very high reps. Tom Platz was looking for hypertrophy. Okay, this is why Fred Hatfield squatted more than Tom Platz, but Tom Platz could squat more reps than Fred Hatfield. Hypertrophy and strength, they go together for a while, and then they deviate, and it becomes different goals as you approach the extreme. So if you want to squat 1,000 pounds, you're not going to get there by doing sets of 20. You're going to have to do heavy singles. Now, this is what I want you to consider, okay? You have to keep in mind your goal. If your goal is to be explosive, if your goal is to have a very high power output for a single attempt, doing singles at whatever percentage you pick, even if it's 80%, 85%, doing singles is going to end up changing the quality of your muscles so that you are better at performing single reps. Even if you're not doing singles at 95 and 100%, doing singles at 85 and 90%, still single, 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 your body gets used to it, and your body gets really good at generating a lot of force. This is assuming that you actually put effort in. Okay, so you're trying to lift it as fast and aggressively as you can. You can't just like, oh, I'm going to stand up slow because it's only 70%. No, drive out of the hole. Attack it. Be aggressive. Be assertive. Move with purpose. Okay? But yeah, if you're purposely trying to increase your bar velocity, even whenever you have a load of 75%, if you're coming out of the hole as hard as you can, that will have a carryover effect, and you will become better at generating force very quickly. Your maximum force will transfer over. You'll become more explosive as an athlete. Is this the best way to train hypertrophy? No. I didn't say it was. So don't get this twisted. Okay? Is this the best way for you to be aesthetic? No. But this is probably a really good way for you to get better at something like Olympic weightlifting, powerlifting, things where your sport is literally doing a single. So if your sport is a sport of doing singles, then doing singles is going to make sense because it's, like specific adaptations, right? Like we adapt to the things that we do. Okay. Now, if you're in a hypertrophy block, obviously, this is not the best way for you to train because you want to get some metabolic stress in there, and there's a bunch of other factors that drive hypertrophy. We can go through a different video and talk about, there's all these different factors that drive hypertrophy, but what I think you need to keep in mind, too, is that strength is neurological. It's not just muscle. So there's a neurological component to strength. That's why Fred Hatfield had smaller legs than Tom Platz, but Fred Hatfield was stronger. Neurological. There's a neurological adaptation that takes place. You can become more explosive, more powerful, even if you don't have more muscle mass, because you're able to take the muscle that you do have and use it more, I don't want to say efficiently, but I guess it is efficiently, right? You're able to activate 90% of the muscle fibers, boom, massive explosive movement. Why do some guys jump so well? Because they're really good at just that quick activation. That's how it works. So, that's my thoughts on this. My observation was that doing nothing but singles definitely made me better at doing singles. I got really explosive and really good at doing singles. And, I'm not going to sit here and tell you there isn't a trade-off, because you start to suck at anything that has reps at all. Like you're not going to do, sets of 5 in the back squat after you spend, 2 years of doing nothing but singles. Okay? But, yeah, your snatch and your clean and your jerk will go up. So if that's your goal, like, think about your goal. Keep the goal the goal. Train for the goal. Okay? If your goal is to have the best, clean and jerk, I don't know, maybe don't spend your time doing a whole bunch of 20 rep breathing squats. Okay? Think about what your goal is and think about what adaptation you want. Choose the stimulus that will give you the, outcome that you're chasing. What a radical concept. But, all this comes back around full circle. Like I said, Uncle Ivan, he probably said it best. It changes the quality of the meat. That's why you do singles. And it's like, he was onto something. And like I said, later on, when I started looking at things like bar velocity, I started to realize why that is. Because whenever you look at bar velocity, if you're doing singles, you're going to have really good bar velocity across the entire workout. You're not going to see huge drop-off. But if you're doing sets of 8, like you'll see, your reps get slower and slower and slower. So, I think of it as like a quality versus quantity equation, right? So doing singles, obviously your workout's going to take longer. So don't get me wrong here. This isn't like a time-efficient workout. But you're getting higher quality per rep because the bar velocity is higher per rep, which means, force, we're looking at the load, the distance it has to travel, and the time it traveled across that distance. Well, if you have a higher bar velocity, then, we're generating more power. We're generating more force. We're creating, this adaptation where you're getting very good at moving something for a single movement, bam, as explosively and violently as possible. So that's what you're going to adapt to. And like I said, this is not telling you don't do reps. This is telling you consider your goal, consider the desired outcome that you have, and then maybe consider that it might be appropriate for you. And I don't know your sport, so like I'm not making assumptions here. You need to figure that out for yourself. But you may benefit from doing nothing but singles. And then someone else in a different sport may benefit from doing high reps. I mean, I'll tell you, in hockey, we did a lot of high rep stuff because, high rep squatting, well, it actually has a good carryover to skating, especially sprinting. If you're sprinting for a loose puck, that's not a single. That's a lot of, drive, 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 drive. And if you're a sprinter even, that's a lot of steps. So, maybe those people would not go into something like this where they're doing a whole bunch of singles. Just consider your sport. So if you guys like the video, If you have experience with this, comment below. If you have an opinion on this, comment below. If you found that, I don't know, maybe 20 rep squats somehow massively increase your snatch and now you snatch 200 kilos, comment below. If you snatch 200 kilos, I doubt you're watching me. What the hell would you be asking me anything about? You already snatched 200 kilos. I should be the one asking you questions. But if you do snatch 200 kilos and you have a question, go ahead and put it below. I have some questions for you too. So, and if you guys like this, subscribe to the channel. We can talk about this stuff more. I really love talking about training, especially stuff like this that you're not going to find a lot of research on. I like these things. They're fun for me because it's like, well, how do I take this thing that I observed in the real world and compare it to what we know in the research and then find that area in the middle? I find this kind of stuff really cool, especially when you look at the way that they did stuff in the past. It's like, wow, they knew what they were doing before we had a way of even measuring it. It's really cool. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you for your time, and, I hope this helps even just one person.